Can you tell me a bit about what happened?
Can you tell me what happened?
What can you tell me about why you've been sent over here?
Can you tell me how old you are?
But can you tell me where and how you fooled around with these boys? Can you tell me specifically what happened?
What can you tell me about him?
How much can you tell me about Deep Throat?
It's not a fucking... Jesus, how can you tell me to calm down?
Now, can you tell me who did it?
So what can you tell me?
Can you tell me what the Bill of Rights is?
Can you tell me if there's a spring around here?
Can you tell me if Elaine Dickinson is on this flight?
Can you tell me how... Hello?
Can you tell me what them cereal boxes is on the shelf?
What can you tell me about these?
Can you tell me who the claimant was, Rose?
Can you tell me where the, toilet? Yes. Can you tell me where the labor exchange is?
Could you tell me the nature of your business here?
Huh? Could you tell me what it is you want me to do, or is it a secret?
Could you tell me which of these guys is Bruce Wayne?
Could you tell me where the bathroom is, please?
Could you tell me a bit about your boyhood on K-Pax?
Well, hell, could you tell me where the land office is?
Could you tell me how long that'll be standing there?
Please, could you tell me what this is all about?
Yes. Could you tell me what that is on the buffet?
Assuming I were interested in the whereabouts of this money, what could you tell me?
Could you tell me where she is?
Could you tell me how that day started out?
Could you tell me how to get to the bank?
Could you tell me the answer to something I'm asking you?
Yeah. Could you tell me what type?
Could you tell me where I could find Kevin Morton?
Excuse me, could you tell me what year it is?
She is? Could you tell me where she lives?
What could you tell me about Lucas and Evelyn?
Could you tell me about the Reverend?
Could you tell me about the nature of your appointment?
Could you tell me how this thing works?
Could you tell me which room Charlie Litton is staying in, please?
That's what I'd like to know.
Well, fine, Randall. That's a good start.
Why? I'd like to know.
And I'd like to know what they are.
I'd like to know you for more days.
I guess I'm saying I'd like to know.
Okay.
I'd like to know about your prior employment and hear it in your own words, what you learned from each position.
I'd like to know more about your son.
Certainly.
What I'd like to know is what Bromley told his mum and dad.
I'd like to know who you'd call after all those fancy speeches I've been hearing lately.
What I'd like to know is why you enjoy playing games.
And how would you run your job, I'd like to know.
I'd like to know where he goes every night.
Yes, I'd like to know the answer to that. Why haven't you?
I'd like to know if Anthony ever thought of me.
I'd like to know what caused that noise.
I'd like to know the truth about Mary, my student, your niece.
I'd like to know what your idea of freedom is.
I'd like to know how many times the pilot practiced that maneuver before he actually pulled it off.
For what, I'd like to know? For what?
I'd like to know about every kind of dance.
Do you know why or how?
Do you know how much it costs?
Do you know what it's like not to be able to use your legs?
Really? I mean, how do you know?
There you are. Do you know where they put it?
Do you know what's happened since then?
What do you know? What do you know about it? Nothing.
How do you know it's love if you've never been in love before?
Do you know that you're insane?
Do you know what's going on? Maybe it's another drill.
You know who he's talking about? Do you know what he's talking about?
I beg your pardon, sir, but do you know what he's talking about?
Don't know what to do, you know?
Do you know how many men I've lost under my command?
What do you know about brotherhood?
Do you know what we do here?
So what news do you know about? Okay, what news do you know about?
How much do you know about Dyson?
Listen, you know what you're doing?
Do you know who's driving?
Do you know, I still remember you in my prayers.
Do you have any idea what the cost is on this?
Do you have any idea how irresponsible you've been?
Do you have any idea what they were arguing about?
Do you have any idea to who?
No, why?
Do you have any idea what it's like knowing my real brother and mother spent every day of their lives looking for me?
Do you have any idea how crazy you are?
Do you have any idea what time it is?
Mm-hmm. Late.
Do you have any idea where we're actually going?
Do you have any idea what it's like to sit here night after night and watch this endless parade of human debris floating by?
Yes, sir, of course I have.
Do you have any idea what it's like to have two people look at you with total lust and devotion through the same pair of eyes?
Do you have any idea how exacting these calculations have to be?
What?
Do you have any idea what you just did?
Do you have any idea what it's like in jail?
Of course you don't.
Do you have any idea what manner of thing it was that you had?
Do you have any idea what this means?
Do you have any idea where you're going?
Do you have any idea how crazy that sounds?
Do you have any idea where you're going?
Even if the parents agreed, do you have any idea how much this would cost?
Do you have any idea what was out there just 5 years ago?
Do you have any idea the bullshit that I've had to put up with since your 60 Minutes story aired?
Do you have any idea what you put me through?
Do you have any idea how many laws we've broken?
Do you have any idea the beating I'm taking at moderation?
Would you happen to know what month of the year it is?
Would you happen to know anything about that?
Ma'am, would you happen to know anything about a drug called Pergonal?
Would you happen to know how to get to the mystery site?
Would you happen to know where Hammond resides then?
Would you happen to know anything about physics?
Would you happen to know the way to the pawn shop?
Would you happen to know where she is right now?
Yes, I would. Would you tell me?
Say, would you happen to know Simon's computer password?
While I have you, would you happen to know if there's been a resolution regarding the cemetery?
Would you happen to know where he went?
Excuse me, ma'am. Would you happen to know where they're hiring the Harvey girls?
Would you happen to know where Richard Hirsch's room is?
Say, would you happen to know a good place for lunch in the downtown area?
Would you happen to know if maybe anybody else might have had a grudge against Lyle?
Would you happen to know what he paid for the Pink Panther?
Would you happen to know a wizard?
Would you happen to know where the great Swahili warrior's sleeping?
Probably not enough to work here, is it? Would you happen to know where I could find Chloe Anderson?
Now, do you happen to know what little buzzy insects and small children have in common? Huh?
You wouldn't happen to know where we could find this boy, would you?
I don't suppose you know what he looks like.
I don't suppose you know anything about this.
I don't suppose you know where he went.
Well, I don't suppose you know of a ladies' room hereabouts.
I don't suppose you know it, though, anyway.
I don't suppose you know anyone who might be interested in coming with me on my trip.
I don't suppose you know where the little Wrangler's room is in this place, do you?
I don't suppose you know your password.
I don't suppose you know how to drive it. The train, I mean.
I don't suppose you know where.
I don't suppose you know of any rooms for rent, Mr. Speed.
I didn't suppose you know who that was this morning, do you?
Don't suppose you know where.
I don't suppose you know how she wound up there.
Stanley.
I don't suppose you could tell what kind of flower these are, could you?
I am a shadmock. I don't suppose you know what that is.
I suppose you know how to fly. No, sir. I'm a long nature. I'll need a coat.
I don't suppose that you're familiar with the poems of Ella Sturgis Hooper.
I was wondering a little bit about the man who brought you here.
Oh, I was wondering about that.
Hey, man! Hey, listen, I was wondering if you might help me, huh?
I was wondering if you could ask the doctor to increase my medication.
I was wondering if you could come over.
So I was wondering, will you go to prom with me?
I was wondering if I might audit your course.
But I was wondering if I could hang around.
I was wondering if my daughter had deserted us too when I heard her voice.
I was wondering that myself.
I was wondering, see, I gotta get in touch with him.
I'm glad to hear that because I was wondering if perhaps you could spare us a few policemen.
I was wondering, would you have any holy oil or holy water for Major Sharp, Father?
We were doing a story on this, and I was wondering if you would care to comment or explain.
I was wondering when you were going to make this call.
I was wondering when you might be getting paid for that haul.
And I was wondering if I could take you out.
I was wondering, do you have any Japanese peace lilies?
And I was wondering why.
Don, I was wondering, do you know why our workplace has such low ceilings?
I was wondering.
I was wondering if you know what they're building over in the tech wing.
I was wondering if you wouldn't mind answering a few questions I have about what happens after the end of the book.
Well, I was wondering, do you happen to know anything about Paul Sheldon?
As I was sitting there in Mass, I was wondering, what in the world is going on?